This is a 31 Pearls production, all rights reserved.
Enoch Chapter 18. I then surveyed the receptacles of all the winds, perceiving that they contributed to adorn the whole creation, and to preserve the foundation of the earth. I surveyed the stone which supports the corners of the earth. I also beheld the 4 winds which bear up the earth, and the firmament of heaven. And I beheld the winds occupying the exalted sky, arising in the midst of heaven and of earth, and constituting the pillars of heaven. I saw the winds which turn the sky, which cause the orb of the sun and of all the stars to set. And over the earth I saw the winds which support the clouds. I saw the path of the angels. I perceived at the extremity of the earth the firmament of heaven above it. Then I passed on towards the south, where burnt, both by day and night, 6 mountains formed of glorious stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. Those which were towards the east were of variegated stone, one of which was of margarite, and another of antimony. Those towards the south were of a red stone. The middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God, a throne composed of alabaster, the top of which was of sapphire. I saw too a blazing fire hanging over all the mountains. And there I saw a place on the other side of an extended territory where waters were collected. I likewise beheld terrestrial fountains deep in the fiery columns of heaven. And in the columns of heaven I beheld fires which descended without number, but neither on high nor into the deep. Over these fountains I also perceived a place which had neither the firmament of heaven above it, nor solid ground underneath it. Neither was there water above it, nor anything on wing, but the spot was desolate. And there I beheld 7 stars, like great blazing mountains, and like spirits entreating me. Then the angel said, "This place until the consummation of heaven and earth will be the prison of the stars and the host of heaven." The stars which roll over fire are those which transgressed the commandment of God before their time arrived, for they came not in their proper season. Therefore was he offended with them, and bound them, until the period of the consummation of their crimes in the secret year. Enoch chapter 19. Then Uriel said, "Here the angels who cohabited with women appointed their leaders, and being numerous in appearance, made men profane, and caused them to err, so that they sacrifice to devils as to gods. For in the great day there shall be a judgment, with which they shall be judged until they are consumed, and their wives also shall be judged, who led astray the angels of heaven that they might salute them. And I, Enoch, I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things, nor did any human being see it as I saw it." Enoch chapter 20. These are the names of the angels who watch: Uriel, one of the holy angels, who presides over clamor and terror; Raphael, one of the holy angels, who presides over the spirits of men; Raguel, one of the holy angels, who inflicts punishment on the world and the luminaries; Michael, one of the holy angels, who, presiding over human virtue, commands the nations; Sarachiel, one of the holy angels, who presides over the spirits of the children of men that transgress; Gabriel, one of the holy angels, who presides over Accursed, over paradise, and over the cherubim; Enoch chapter 21. Then I made a circuit to a place in which nothing was completed. And there I beheld neither the tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven, nor of an established earth, but a desolate spot, prepared and terrific. There too I beheld 7 stars of heaven bound in it together, like great mountains, and like a blazing fire. I exclaimed, "For what species of crime have they been bound, and why have they been removed to this place?" Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and who conducted me, answered, "Enoch, wherefore do you ask? Wherefore do you reason with yourself and anxiously inquire? These are those of the stars which have transgressed the commandment of the Most High God, and are here bound, until the infinite number of the days of their crimes be completed." From there I afterwards passed on to another terrific place, where I beheld the operation of a great fire blazing and glittering, in the midst of which there was a division. Columns of fire struggled together to the end of the abyss, and deep was their descent, but neither its measurement nor magnitude was I able to discover, neither could I perceive its origin. Then I exclaimed, "How terrible is this place, and how difficult to explore!" Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, "Enoch, why are you alarmed and amazed at this terrific place, at the sight of this place of suffering?" "This," he said, "is the prison of the angels, and here they are kept forever." Enoch chapter 22. From there I proceeded to another spot, where I saw on the west a great and lofty mountain, a strong rock, and 4 delightful places. Internally it was deep, capacious, and very smooth as if it had been rolled over. It was both deep and dark to behold. Then Raphael, one of the holy angels who were with me, answered and said, "These are the delightful places where the spirits, the souls of the dead, will be collected. For them were they formed. And here will be collected all the souls of the sons of men. These places in which they dwell shall they occupy until the day of judgment, and until their appointed period. Their appointed period will be long, even until the great judgment. And I saw the spirits of the sons of men who were dead, and their voices reached to heaven, while they were accusing. Then I inquired of Raphael, an angel who was with me, and said, "Whose spirit is that, the voice of which reaches to heaven, and accuses?" He answered, saying, "This is the spirit of Abel, who was slain by Cain his brother, and who will accuse that brother, until his seed be destroyed from the face of the earth, until his seed perish from the seed of the human race." At that time, therefore, I inquired respecting him, and respecting the general judgment, saying, "Why is one separated from another?" He answered, 3 separations have been made between the spirits of the dead, and thus have the spirits of the righteous been separated, namely by a chasm, by water, and by light above it. And in the same way likewise are sinners separated when they die, and are buried in the earth, judgment not overtaking them in their lifetime. Here their souls are separated. Moreover, abundant is their suffering until the time of the great judgment, the castigation, and the torment of those who eternally execrate, whose souls are punished and bound there forever. And thus has it been since the beginning of the world. Thus has there existed a separation between the souls of those who utter complaints, and of those who watch for their destruction, to slaughter them in the day of sinners. A receptacle of this sort has been formed for the souls of unrighteous men, and of sinners, of those who have completed crime, and associated with the impious, whom they resemble. Their soul shall not be annihilated in the day of judgment, neither shall they arise from this place. Then I blessed God and said, Blessed be my Lord, the Lord of glory and of righteousness, who reigns over all forever and forever. Enoch chapter 23. From there I went to another place, towards the west, unto the extremities of the earth, where I beheld a fire blazing and running along without cessation, which intermitted its course neither by day nor by night, but continued always the same. I inquired, saying, What is this which never ceases? Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who were with me, answered and said, This blazing fire, which you behold running towards the west, is that of all the luminaries of heaven. Enoch chapter 24. I went from there to another place, and saw a mountain of fire flashing both by day and by night. I proceeded towards it, and perceived 7 splendid mountains, which were all different from each other. Their stones were brilliant and beautiful. All were brilliant and splendid to behold, and beautiful was their surface. 3 mountains were towards the east, and strengthened by being placed one upon another, and 3 were towards the south, strengthened in a similar manner. There were likewise deep valleys, which did not approach each other, and the 7th mountain was in the midst of them. In length they all resembled the seat of a throne, and odoriferous trees surrounded them. Among these there was a tree of unceasing smell, nor of those which were in Eden was there one of all the fragrant trees which smelt like this. Its leaf, its flower, and its bark never withered, and its fruit was beautiful. Its fruit resembled the cluster of the palm. I exclaimed, Behold! This tree is goodly in aspect, pleasing in its leaf, and the sight of its fruit is delightful to the eye. Then Michael, one of the holy and glorious angels who were with me, and one who presided over them, answered and said, Enoch, why do you inquire respecting the odor of this tree? Why are you inquisitive to know it? Then I, Enoch, replied to him and said, Concerning everything I am desirous of instruction, but particularly concerning this tree. He answered me, saying, That mountain which you behold, the extent of whose head resembles the seat of the Lord, will be the seat on which shall sit the holy and great Lord of glory and everlasting King, when he shall come and descend to visit the earth with goodness. And that tree of an agreeable smell, not one of carnal odor, there shall be no power to touch until the period of the great judgment, when all shall be punished and consumed forever. This shall be bestowed on the righteous and humble. The fruit of the tree shall be given to the elect, for towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place, towards the habitation of the everlasting King. Then shall they greatly rejoice and exult in the Holy One. The sweet odor shall enter into their bones, and they shall live a long life on the earth, as your forefathers have lived. Neither in their days shall sorrow, distress, trouble, and punishment afflict them. And I blessed the Lord of glory, the everlasting King, because he has prepared this tree for the saints, formed it, and declared that he would give it to them. Enoch chapter 25. From there I proceeded to the middle of the earth, and beheld a happy and fertile spot, which contained branches continually sprouting from the trees which were planted in it. There I saw a holy mountain, and underneath it water on the eastern side, which flowed towards the south. I saw also on the east another mountain as high as that, and between them there were deep but not wide valleys. Water ran towards the mountain to the west of this, and underneath there was likewise another mountain. There was a valley, but not a wide one, below it. And in the midst of them were other deep and dry valleys, towards the extremity of the three. All these valleys, which were deep but not wide, consisted of a strong rock, with a tree which was planted in them. And I wondered at the rock, and at the valleys, being extremely surprised. Enoch chapter 26. Then I said, what means this blessed land, all these lofty trees, and the accursed valley between them? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who were with me, replied, this valley is the accursed of the accursed forever. Here shall be collected all who utter with their mouths unbecoming language against God, and speak harsh things of his glory. Here shall they be collected. Here shall be their territory. In the latter days an example of judgment shall be made of them in righteousness before the saints, while those who have received mercy shall forever, all their days, bless God, the everlasting King. And at the period of judgment shall they bless him for his mercy, as he has distributed it to them. Then I blessed God, addressing myself to him, and making mention, as was meet, of his greatness. Enoch chapter 27. From thence I proceeded towards the east, to the middle of the mountain in the desert, the level surface only of which I perceived. It was full of trees of the seed alluded to, and water leaped down upon it. There appeared a cataract, composed as of many cataracts, both towards the west and towards the east. Upon one side were trees, upon the other water and dew. Enoch chapter 28. Then I went to another place from the desert, towards the east of that mountain which I had approached. There I beheld choice trees, particularly those which produce the sweet-smelling opiate, frankincense, and myrrh, and trees unlike to each other. And over it, above them, was the elevation of the eastern mountain at no great distance. Enoch chapter 29. I likewise saw another place with valleys of water which never wasted, where I perceived a goodly tree, which in smell resembled zasacanon. And towards the sides of these valleys I perceived cinnamon of a sweet odor. Over them I advanced towards the east. Enoch chapter 30. Then I beheld another mountain containing trees, from which water flowed like Neketro. Its name was Sirira and Kalboneba. And upon this mountain I beheld another mountain, upon which were the trees of the Alva. These trees were full, like almond trees, and strong, and when they produced fruit, it was superior to all redolence. Enoch chapter 31. After these things, surveying the entrances of the north, above the mountains, I perceived 7 mountains, replete with pure nard, odoriferous trees, cinnamon, and papyrus. From there I passed on above the summits of those mountains to some distance eastwards, and went over the Erythraean Sea. And when I advanced far beyond it, I passed along above the angel Zatael, and arrived at the garden of righteousness. In this garden I beheld, among other trees, some which were numerous and large, and which flourished there. Their fragrance was agreeable and powerful, and their appearance both varied and elegant. The tree of knowledge also was there, of which, if anyone eats, he becomes endowed with great wisdom. It was like a species of the tamarind tree, bearing fruit which resembled grapes extremely fine, and its fragrance extended to a considerable distance. I exclaimed, "How beautiful is this tree, and how delightful is its appearance!" Then holy Raphael, an angel who was with me, answered and said, "This is the tree of knowledge, of which your ancient father and your aged mother ate, who were before you, and who, obtaining knowledge, their eyes being opened, and knowing themselves to be naked, were expelled from the garden." Enoch chapter 32. From there I went on towards the extremities of the earth, where I saw large beasts different from each other, and birds various in their countenances and forms, as well as with notes of different sounds. To the east of these beasts I perceived the extremities of the earth, where heaven ceased. The gates of heaven stood open, and I beheld the celestial stars coming forth. I numbered them as they proceeded out of the gate, and wrote them all down, as they came out one by one, according to their number. I wrote down their names altogether, their times and their seasons, as the angel Uriel, who was with me, pointed them out to me. He showed them all to me, and wrote down an account of them. He also wrote down for me their names, their regulations, and their operations. Enoch chapter 33. From there I advanced on towards the north, to the extremities of the earth. And there I saw great and glorious wonder at the extremities of the whole earth. I saw there heavenly gates, opening into heaven. 3 of them distinctly separated. The northern winds proceeded from them, blowing cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. From one of the gates they blew mildly, but when they blew from the 2 other gates, it was with violence and force. They blew over the earth strongly. Enoch chapter 34. From there I went to the extremities of the world westwards, where I perceived 3 gates open, as I had seen in the north, the gates and passages through them being of equal magnitude. Enoch chapter 35. Then I proceeded to the extremities of the earth southwards, where I saw 3 gates open to the south, from which issued dew, rain, and wind. From there I went to the extremities of heaven eastwards, where I saw 3 heavenly gates open to the east, which had smaller gates within them. Through each of these small gates the stars of heaven passed on, and proceeded towards the west by a path which was seen by them, and that at every period of their appearance. When I beheld them, I blessed every time in which they appeared. I blessed the Lord of glory, who had made those great and splendid signs, that they might display the magnificence of his works to angels and to the souls of men, and that these might glorify all his works and operations, might see the effect of his power, might glorify the great labor of his hands, and bless him forever.